Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Anu Sood, and I'm the Director of Marketing at Alessa. I'm also today's moderator. So we're excited about today's webinar, and it's called Visualizing Your Key Risk and Compliance Indicators. With this new release of Alessa, we have introduced a number of new exciting features. And today's webinar will focus on what users can do with our dashboards. So today's presenters extraordinaire are Andrew Simpson, Chief Operating Officer at Alessa, and Steve Adama, Analytics Consultant in our Analytics and Data Science Group. So with that, I think it's a good time to hand over the reins to Andrew Simpson, and let's get started.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Anu. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. So myself and Stephen, we're going to be going through just kind of showing you what we have done around visualizations, dashboarding, scorecards, and all that within the new 552 deployment. Some of you may have been a host. If you're a hosted customer, for example, you would have seen some of this stuff starting to show up already, but if not, then it's brand new. The main thing that we're going to talk about is how the visualization work, and Stephen is really going to give you a bit of a 10,000 feet experience with it, like not really getting into too many technical details, but just kind of walking you through some of the capabilities. We're also going to talk about the new Power BI support as well, staying true to our commitment of having an open platform. That's one of the things that we're going to be doing as well. And then Stephen is going to get into the demos. Q&A, you can ask your questions at any point in time. So don't hesitate to just go ahead and ask your questions. What it is that we're doing in the platform today is that we're solving a problem of you have implemented Caseware Monitor or Alessa. Over the years, you have done amazing transaction monitoring, continuous controls monitoring, or AML, or whatever it is that you're doing. And today, you are trying to answer some critical questions. How is it doing? What's the volume of transactions that we're actually examining? How many are we blocking? How many are we letting through? Who are my top 5 or top 10 most risky suppliers or customers, things like that. So this new visualization tool, the great thing is it's extremely user-friendly. Any user of the platform is going to be able to build their own dashboards and use the data that is there in Alessa to create their own insights. You're also going to be able to copy existing dashboards that you see and make them your own, so things like that. So the main thing is dashboarding, doing reports, doing scorecards, and seeing how things are going. So in addition to that, the platform allows us to do a number of different things that we were not able to do before. For the visualizations and the dashboarding feature, we're giving you the ability to create data cubes. So what that means is that you can create these particular cubes and what we call metric sets that allows these dashboards to be processing data rapidly, very, very quickly. So the dashboards are highly responsive. And when you look at what Stephen is doing, you'll see what I mean by that. So it provides a lot of capability around data access, data preparation and ETL, and then also having what we call metric sets. Power BI support in Alessa, we have a SQL server. You can connect your Power BI reports and visualizations into our platform using the data that we have in SQL. And from that, you can generate whatever dashboards you want. And those dashboards are controlled in Alessa, and you can control the access in terms of who you want to give access to these dashboards. There are different types of users that the platform is supporting. So apart from the regular Alessa users that can, look at alerts, can make workflow decisions, can receive notifications and so on, you have standard dashboard users, and these persons, they're able to look at existing dashboards that have been created by themselves and by others, and they can see all the different reports and scorecards. They can also revisualize, so they can change how a visualization is worked on. So if you have like a table and it's a table of across different countries that's showing up as a map, you can you can change it and let it show up as a map. So things like that. So lots of different capabilities there. The standard user, they can create their own dashboards, reports, and scorecards, but they can also consume from data that is pre-prepared for them, right? So they are not able to go and prepare new data sets and all of that, but they can use data sets that are already created for them. The next one is a power user. A power user can do more than that. They can create their own data. They can connect to data sources, and they can create their own data sets, metric sets, and so on to facilitate their reporting. So a power user is just, in a way, very similar to the standard user, except that they can do some data preparation work as well. For the licensing, every Alessa on-premises deployment will include one standard concurrent user plus a server instance. So if you're an existing K-Server Monitor or Alessa customer, you will get the benefit of having this new feature deployed within your existing installation. So that is, we're not charging for that. That's just part of your support fee. We recommend that you can have like one concurrent user to like 5 different users that are regularly consuming dashboards, which means that you should be fine with one concurrent user if you're a relatively small deployment. If you're a deployment that has hundreds of users, then that's a different setup. Contact us directly, contact your customer success manager, or if you're working through a partner, contact your partner to get more details. Right? So if you want to expand beyond that, and if you want to do, we've had some customers that participated in our beta, and those customers have like really taken it on, and they're building all types of their own dashboards and all that kind of stuff. So this has been a very successful beta program for them. We are going to give you free online training sessions. So we really are keen on all our customers adopting this this feature. And we're actually going to really take this recording with Stephen walking through everything, and we're going to push it to as many of our customers and users as possible so that we can get that adoption up and running. So we'll be conducting free online training sessions in October. We're going to have our partners in Australia. They have been doing some amazing stuff around procurement monitoring, looking at vendor management and all that kind of stuff. And what they're doing is that they're going to show you how they're using a feature in Alessa called indicators to look at when something goes wrong, you know, why it went wrong. So what is the reason? What is the impact? What is the outcome? And then they're using that to determine how they want to refine their internal control systems. So really amazing presentation that you're going to be doing. That's the first one. That's going to be in October. And then we're going to try and see if we can get either Stephen or Edie, our data analyst here, to kind of do another session for you guys in November. That being said, I'm going to turn over to Stephen, and then he's going to well, Stephen, maybe we should start off with me just kind of showing a little bit of the configuration in the backend, and then I can turn it over to you. Okay. All right. Okay. So I wanted to just kind of show you how we're handling some of this. We now have, under the configuration, we have a visualization tab. And under that tab, you can see 2 types of visualizations. You have Alessa and you have Power BI. Right? Power BI, because it's something that a lot of customers are using, and they've been asking us for it. We haven't had as many persons asking us for, say, Tableau as yet. So we'll just wait and see how it progresses. But right now, the Alessa visualization and BI capability is really, really very powerful. So we'll wait and see. So here under the configuration, we are connecting to our particular server. And then when we connect to the server, we're able to see all the different visualizations that are available, and we can deploy and undeploy them. So if you have an internal Power BI server, for example, we can point to that server and do the same thing. Then we can control who has access and what type of access they have. That's a very easy way to set this up. So that's how we're configuring all of this. And from there, you can actually just go to your own dashboards in the application, and you can go to dashboard management, and from there you can choose what you want to see on your dashboard. So for example, here we have a compliance overview dashboard. From there, what you're able to do is that you're able to see all the different panels and dashboards that are available. So we're still supporting the legacy dashboards, but we've introduced some new ones, and they will come up under what we call custom dashboards. So right here. So you can see them and you just drag them across and they're available. So that's how we're handling a lot of the dashboard management. And every user in the system that has access to dashboards, this is how they'll be able to manage what they're seeing on their various dashboards. Okay, Stephen, I'm going to turn over to you, and then you can kind of walk the audience through the compliance overview and the transaction screening dashboards and so on. And then you'll go into how all of this is being built and designed.
Right, happy to do that. So we have two dashboards that we've built, and you'll see that they're up on this top ribbon here. Where in the management, we have selected alerts report, and that is part of the compliance overview dashboard, which was built with the designer. So in this case, the Alessa dashboard is showing a number of work items that have been assigned, closed, or at different states within the Alessa environment. The dashboard can show any information that you've brought to it from Alessa itself or from a custom database or a flat file, and that's all part of the data connection layer that Andrew mentioned before. So if you think of dashboards and you work backwards a little bit, a dashboard is a collection of visualizations called metric sets, which we'll show in the designer. And those metric sets or visualizations, like the charts, the pies, the graphs, those are obtaining their data from the flat files from Alessa or from your databases. So in this case, we have the ability to drill down by using some of the filters that we've created as part of this dashboard. So for instance, if we wanted to see all the items that were assigned to one of our users, Karthik, we can select that and it drills down. If, for instance, we wanted to see what was assigned most recently, so I guess the year 2017 for this data, we can use these filters to either put in a custom date range, or using these smarter filters, if we go to advanced, we could do previous year. I'm going to offset by -1 so that instead of 2018, it selects 2017. And now I'm seeing the work items that have been assigned to, closed, have escalated, or are under recovery for this specific user. And I'm able to combine these filters in any way I see fit. So for instance, if I want to see which items have not been closed by their result set, I can switch the state to see those that have not been closed. And I'll just reset these all back to the dashboard. So any user has a bill, depending on the rights or the privileges, users are able to see this and potentially edit it as well. And we'll get into edits to the dashboard after looking at the second one, which is related to transaction screening. So in this case, we have a transaction monitoring dashboard, which gives some high-level information on transactions that the system has monitored, as well as a highlight that's been included on transactions that have been blocked in the top here. Andrew mentioned that when we do have location-based data, we can include that in a map. And again, similar to the previous dashboard, we have filters that we can use to drill down for previous year or any other column that our data has available to us. So in this case, on the heat map, the granularity between the different countries isn't quite apparent because the United States is so large in transactional data combined to the others. So if we wanted a better picture and we understood that the United States has a lot of transactional data, we can remove it from our selection, and we'll see some finer detail when it comes to the difference between the next largest countries when it comes to the transactions and the transaction values going through them. So in this dashboard, we have a number of visualizations as well as these labels here, which are all hooked up and connected to the filters. If users in the Alessa system have the privileges, they are able to edit these dashboards, or if they've filtered the dashboard in a way that they want to save that information, they can take screenshots, and that can be done and exported through the designer, which I'll go into now. So the Alessa designer is the tool that will be used to import data, to create the metric sets, which are the components that make up the final dashboard, which gets displayed in the Alessa system. If you're at all familiar with Power BI, there's a lot of the same or similar functionality, and it's quite intuitive. It's laid out clearly, it's easy to use. So if I come into transaction monitoring overview, and if I'm noticing that this dashboard gives some information I want, but I want additional information, let's say the status of the transactions, because I'd like to know more about what's been blocked, I can edit a copy or edit directly this dashboard, save it, and have those changes refresh in the Alessa environment. So in this case, I'll click to check in so that I can make edits. And you'll notice at the top ribbon, there's a number of different elements we can use to style and add functionality as well as visualization to the dashboard. Just very briefly, the data visualization allows me to add new charts, graphs, formulas, or data labels, which are shown here. There's components for labels, filters, and a large ability to add interactivity so that highlighting or selecting certain elements will update and change and show values on other elements. So in this case, what could be useful for this dashboard is to add a filter so that users in the system can view blocked transactions. Each of these charts, as I mentioned, they have the ability for any column in their data to be filtered upon. So in this case, my transaction by date chart, I'm going to select transaction status because that's something I would like to be able to drill down on. I'm going to do the same for the bar chart that shows countries, where the country of the transaction is, in this case, the column name branch location from the flat file that this data is imported from. And then transaction status as well for the map. So now I've connected this filter to all three charts. It's not necessary that I attach it or connect it to these labels since they already show total volume or blocked, which are statuses themselves. We will change the label, transaction status. And if we want to view that change for how a user would be able to see it, we simply select view. And now we can go to this new filter we added. And if we want to drill down on only the blocked transactions, we can select that. And in this case, I have my date chart updated, the map updated, and no data was returned for top countries by transaction count. I may have misclicked something there in the setup. All right, so if I go back into edit, there's also an ability to theme the dashboards with different colors, as well as when you have selected a visualization component. If we want to select a new way to look at this data, using the revisualization tool often suggests other ways we could view this. So if we're looking at total value and transaction count, and we think it's a bit distracting maybe to have these side-by-side bars with both a left and right axis, maybe a clearer way is to revisualize this as a table. If there's a change I don't like, undo, redo lets you change dashboards without worrying about permanently changing or deleting a dashboard. In this case, if I'm happy with the changes I've made, I can check in my changes, and I'll mention that we added transaction status filter. We can check that in, which will save it. And now if we return to Alessa and refresh, we should see those changes on that dashboard. So now the users in the Alessa system, because we went into the designer, made those changes, are able to use that new tool that we added to our dashboard. Andrew, is there anything else from the designer that you think would be helpful to
Yeah,
show?
so we have a question coming in.
Oh, okay.
And the user wanted to get an understanding. So what's the difference, because you're using two different user interfaces here. So if you click on the left one, go back into Alessa Core.
Yeah.
This is a core application, right? Which all users will be using. If you have permission to design and create dashboards, then when you click it, we call it the designer. Where you have the designer, when you click that, it opens the designer, which is the second tab. So if you go into the second tab, what this is doing is that it's giving you access to all the different dashboards and visualizations and reports that you have access to. And this is an entire tool set that allows you to build and create anything that you want. And so if depending on the access you have, if you're like an administrator, you'd be able to see all the different dashboards that are created by all the different users across the system. And you'll be able to kind of manage permissions and all that. So this is this designer that you're looking at is an entire different tool from the Alessa platform. So and we intentionally popped it into a separate screen. So this feature, we intentionally popped it into a separate browser. So then it's going to make it easier if you're using two screens to just put what you're looking at in the normal application as opposed to what you're looking at for the designer on another screen. So I hope that sort of explain where we're going with that. But this is a very, very rich and highly functional component that we have introduced right here. That's going to make a big change to how users interact, share data, do reporting, create visualizations, and so on. But Anu, did you get any questions? We could probably, Stephen and I could try to respond to some questions now.
For sure, we did. So thank you, Andrew and Steve, for the great presentation. I just wanted to say, like, as a marketer, I'm highly dependent on dashboards to be able to have like a bird's eye view of how our programs are performing. So I love the way the dashboards that you showed are highly configurable and highly adaptable. And being able to have views that can be personalized means that users can view the information that is most important to them. So yes, we did have a few questions from the audience. So the first one is, what will happen with the existing dashboards we have?
Stephen, if you go back into the application, I just switch to the application, and yeah, if you notice, if you go dashboard management, all of your, and edit any one of them, just say edit. All of the, I think 30 odd different panels that we had before, they're all still there. However, the previous visualization designer that we were using before, that is going to be discontinued in the next 12 months. So if there are any customers that's using that previous designer that we had, just reach out to us either through technical support or just send an email to the contact that's going to be at the end, or you can send a communication to your customer success manager letting us know. And what we will do is that we will work with you to transform those dashboards into the new tools that we're using. right? So if you have any of those legacy dashboards, we'll port them over for you. These existing panels that we always had from version 5.0 coming all the way through, those will still be in the application. Those are not going anywhere. And chances are we will also start to port some of those over into the new feature as well. But for now, this is what it is. And the good thing with this feature too is that as we develop more and more content on our side, it's very easy for us to share it with all our customers, and support can actually do a call with you and show you how to deploy those dashboards in your environment. It doesn't require you to do a new install, it does not require you to do an update and an upgrade or anything like that.
Okay, good. So what users will be able to work on dashboards?
Any and all users, right? So as we said before, even if you're the standard user, you would be able to do that. And it's just a matter of, as a standard user, all the data sets that you will use to create a dashboard is already prepared for you, as opposed to if you're a power user, you can go and create new data sets. That's the only difference.
Now, you'd mentioned that you can get that each user gets one concurrent standard dashboard user, and that should be okay for about 5 people. What happens when you go over that?
All right, so if you go over that for our customers that have smaller deployments, if you're going over that, then what you'll start seeing happening, you'll start to see the dashboard performance degrading a little bit because too many people are using that one concurrent license. In that case, just reach out to us and let us know what is happening, and we can assess it. And if it's that you have a lot more usage than you are anticipating, then we can expand the license and add more seats for that to work. Now, these licenses, they're annual subscriptions. So if that's the case, then you'd have to purchase more. But for the existing deployments and the persons that are on support or subscription already, there is no charges for that one standard concurrent user, which should suffice 90% of the time.
Okay, good. So there's actually a few more questions that have come in. The next question is, can each user create their own dashboards that will be saved to their profile and be there to see every time they log in?
Yeah, so with the setup that we have, Stephen, if you go back, you can actually, when you look at the designer, let's say this particular dashboard, you can say edit a copy, in which case it just takes a copy of the dashboard and create your own copy and your own version of it. And so if you go home, you'll be able to see this as an additional one that's available to you. And this is your copy of that dashboard. So once you're finished with that, all you have to do is you'd have to get it deployed onto the server. So you can just either you send a message to your administrator and say, I'd love for this to be deployed on the server, or if you have permissions, you can deploy it yourself.
Now, is the data in the dashboard drillable so you can get the actual transactional data by clicking on each column?
Yeah, so all the dashboards that you see here, we can layer dashboards on top of each other. So the session that we're doing on Wednesday, looking at sanction screening, when you see those dashboards, for example, they drill down all the way into the specific alerts and all the matches that you get from a sanction screening hit and so on. So you can put in a lot more details into it. So for example, this dashboard that you're looking at here, we could do additional configurations that you can click into any of these areas and it will drill to the underlying data and show it to you.
Okay. I think the final question, unless something else comes in, is what is the advantage of linking to Power BI?
All right, so one of the promises that we make to customers is that we try to be as open as possible. So Alessa and Kiss Remonte has always been a platform that's very open and highly configurable. And what that means is that you are able to say, use a lot of your own tools, a lot of your own data. We allow you to connect to any data source and use any data that you want. We allow you to create your own reports dashboards visualizations. We allow you to use our data analytics tool, or if you want, you can use Python, or you can use SQL, or you can use whatever you want to use to do your own analytics. So this is us remaining true to that promise of being a really open platform. So if a customer, a lot of customers, they have big investments in their BI tool. So they might not want to learn something new like our designer. They might want to just use some of what they have already. If that is the case, by all means. That's the premise behind that.
So actually another question came in. What visualization tools are available to look at, like, for example, PEP exposures?
So Wednesday's webinar is going to be a much longer webinar because we're really going to get into the massive improvements that we have made around what we're doing for sanction screening and PEP screening and all that kind of stuff. And you're going to see the visualizations that are there that break down into different categories and show you how many hits you're getting that is a potential in a sanctions hit, as opposed to a PEP, as opposed to, you know, other or embargo, or, you know, whatever. So you're going to be able to kind of see those categories, and even doing things like looking at turnaround time, looking at how long is it taking you to resolve a PEP hit versus a sanctions hit versus just a criminal category hit. So it depends on what's happening. You'll be able to see that on Wednesday as well.
Okay, good. So I don't see any more questions come in. So since you've mentioned the next webinar, and the topic is getting more from your customer vendor screening program, we'll go into the latest enhancements to Alessa's sanction screening module, and which allows organizations to screen entities such as new customers and vendors effectively. The webinar is going to focus on a number of key areas, including a tour of the redesigned screening alerts interface that allows user triage possible matches and make decisions quickly, how the on-demand screening interface has been updated to make it easier to screen individuals, businesses, and vessels, and the process to configure batch of customer or vendors periodically. So there aren't any more questions. If you find that you have some additional questions, please don't be afraid to reach out to your account manager, or of course you can email us at alessa@caseware.com. On behalf of Andrew and Steve, I'd like to thank you for your time today, and we look forward to working with you on this new release of Alessa. Thanks, everyone.